What's up guys, my name is Ace, and just in case you guys have been living under a rock, yesterday we got the full Blackout map, and it was kind of neat how they revealed this. They sent pieces of this map to different YouTubers over the course of about 24 hours. And as a community, we had to piece these together to create the map, and I was actually fortunate enough to have the final piece of the map sent to me by Call of Duty, which is really cool. But here it is. This is the completed Blackout map. Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about this map a little bit, my opinions on it, as well as my thoughts on what a lot of people in the community have been saying. I'm going to do a quick comparison to Fortnite's map as well as PUBG's original map. Although I will say right up front, this comparison doesn't mean a whole lot, it's just to give you an indication of the size. And then finally, I gathered every single Blackout image I was able to find on the internet, at least so far at the time of recording this video. I'm sure we'll get a lot more of this as the days go on. But I compiled every single image that we have, and I located it on the map, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like to kind of, in a sense, give you a walkthrough of the map, let you see what different areas are looking like, and basically just help you become a bit more familiar with the map. So first up, let's look at the rough comparison I did with the Fortnite map. Keep in mind that this is a very rough comparison. It's not necessarily 100% accurate. What I did is I took a known value, which is the size of one of the houses on Nuketown. We know how big those houses are, and compared it with a similar sized house in Fortnite. I essentially just overlaid the images, resized until those houses were the same sizes on the map, and then that gave us a comparison. So yes, it is a rough comparison, but it does give you a general indication of the size of the map. And as you can see here, the Blackout map does appear to be a little bit smaller than Fortnite's map. Not by a super noticeable extent, but it is smaller than Fortnite's map as far as we can tell so far. And then just for fun, just to show you how small these are in comparison to the PUBG map, this is the original PUBG map, and it just completely blows both of these out of the water. Like, the Blackout map is basically the size of the military base island, or whatever they call it in PUBG. But then again, PUBG is a completely different style of Battle Royale game, and it is much, much bigger. Now, like I said earlier, I wouldn't take these size comparisons too seriously. It's more so just to give you a general indication of the size of the map, because it doesn't really paint the whole picture. I've already seen a bunch of people saying, oh my god, it's going to be so slow-paced and terrible, whereas on the other side, I've seen people say, oh no, this is way too small, it's going to be way too fast-paced and chaotic. This is all stuff that, at this point, we can't really know for sure. We do know that we have 80 players, at least to start with, in the beta. We do have vehicles as well, and it's a slightly smaller map than Fortnite. Also, another piece of information that we got from Game Informer is that apparently you can go from end to end on this map in about 5 minutes with sprinting. Personally, based on what we know so far, I'm leaning towards this being a very fast-paced experience. Like, faster paced than we're used to in Fortnite, definitely faster paced than we're used to in PUBG. And this is just due to the fact that the map size is a little bit smaller. We have vehicles which allow us to get around the map a lot faster than something like Fortnite, for instance. And also another thing that I only recently started considering is in Fortnite, you have to collect materials. And a lot of players, there's that initial stage of like a few minutes where they're just going around collecting materials, not just looting items, like that's also important and that's going to be important in Blackout, but they also have to collect materials, whereas in Blackout, it's basically looks like you just get your loot and you get in the fight as fast as possible. So I think this is going to be a faster paced experience than we're used to with Battle Royale games, but like I said earlier, I don't think it's the time to jump to any sort of conclusions until we actually get our hands on this game or until we actually see some real gameplay of Blackout. One thing that I noticed that I wanted to point out with this map is we don't really have a large city. Most of the points of interest that we have on this map appear to be at least roughly the same sort of size. Nothing too massive, not a bunch of like giant high-rises or anything, although the construction site area does have a little bit of a high-rise area. But at least at first glance, it doesn't appear that we have a Tilted Towers of Blackout. For anybody that plays Fortnite, Tilted Towers is often that place where practically half of the people in the game will land there because it's just immediately a ton of action, there's a ton of loot there. And what this means for the pacing of the game is a huge portion of the players are going to be eliminated within the first minute of the game or 2 minutes of the game. Without that Tilted Towers-like point of interest, that big city that people are going to go to, I think this is going to spread the action out a little bit more throughout the match. I think you're not going to necessarily run into those situations where half the players in the game are dead within the first 2 minutes. I think we're going to see a bit more of a spread of people on Blackout, and I'm interested to see how that's going to play with the pacing. I hope that does lead to more just consistent action throughout the game, so it's not like a huge burst of action at the beginning, and then not a whole lot going on in the middle of the game, and then you have the intense end game. But this is just something that's been kind of on my mind when I first saw this. I was kind of expecting to see like one big city area, and it doesn't appear that we have that, although maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is going to be a point of interest here that's just loaded with loot, and it is going to act like that Tilted Towers where everybody wants to land there. But that's just something that kind of popped into my mind and I wanted to mention in this video. So now that we've covered all that, let's go through the walkthrough of the map. I'm using air quotes here when I say walkthrough. What we're going to be doing, like I said at the beginning, is I'm taking every blackout image we have, and I'm going to locate it on the map for you and show you what that general area looks like. So let's start off on the top left. We have the construction site here. The first time we saw the construction site properly was in the Blackout teaser. We saw this image with a helicopter flying past. Then just a few days ago, we got this image here, which is a nice clear image of the construction area. You see the two guys approaching the construction area. You can see that there's a helipad with a helicopter on there. So that is where one of the helicopters will spawn. And it looks like it's a decent sized building. I'm interested to see if we're able to get into every single level, every single floor of that, or if you're only going to have access to a few different floors of that building. But that does give us a nice overview of the construction area. Next up, way up north on the map, we have Estate, and this is actually Raid from Black Ops 2. And once again, from the initial Blackout teaser that we got, we saw this little flash of an image right here, which you can clearly see is Raid, and this is what that northern area is going to look like. After that, moving a little bit to the south, we have Array, which is kind of loosely based on Array from Black Ops 1. Very loosely based, it seems like. But you can see there, it's overlooking Nuketown Island, actually. This is a great shot where we can see quite a bit going on. Speaking of Nuketown Island, let's have a look at that. The first image that we got for Nuketown Island was once again within that Blackout teaser. You can see the two guys here walking towards that destroyed Nuketown. And then recently we got a much better image here and you can see Nuketown is there. Keep in mind the actual Nuketown map that we're used to is just a very small part of this island. It's not like the entire island or anything. It's just a very small piece towards the end of the island. Next up we have the cargo docks area, which is a little bit south of Nuketown Island. And we first saw a glimpse of this in the teaser with a guy on one of the Zodiacs. Unfortunately, we don't have any images that are really close up on the cargo area, just from a distance. The second image that we got much more recently is this image here, where you can see some guys that are approaching the cargo area from the distance. You can also see a supply drop there, which is interesting to note. But it is pretty clear that that area is going to be based off of cargo from Black Ops 2. Now, out in the open water, we have a small island just by the cargo docks area that didn't actually properly appear on the map. Vonderhaar actually mentioned that they forgot to include that on this part of the map. They didn't update the map yet. But this is just off of the coast where the cargo dock area is. We see the Lighthouse. And this looks like it could be pretty chaotic. There's a lot of action going on there. At least from this image, they make it look like potentially you're going to get a helicopter spawn on the Lighthouse area, as well as clearly you're going to have some boats spawning there because you're going to need some way to get to the shore effectively. But definitely looks like a very risky place to be landing. Also, of course, just wanted to mention in the background, you can see another angle of the cargo area. This brings us over to an unnamed area. This is between the fracking tower and the turbine area. And it looks like it's basically just a small village with a bridge going through it. You can see the turbines in the background. That's how I know exactly where it is here. And there's not a whole lot else to say about this, aside from the fact that it looks like there's going to be some Zodiac spawns there. Getting into the turbine area, looks like we have two very massive buildings there. And then also, when I'm talking about turbine area, I'm also talking about the desert surrounding it. That's where we got most of our images here. I'm just going to be kind of scrolling through them. Not a whole lot of variety in these images. Basically, you're just out in the desert. You can see the turbines there, and that's pretty much all there is to see. This brings us to the center of the map, and we got a few images on the farm areas here. Now, there is also the firing range towards the center of the map, but unfortunately at this point, we don't have any clear images of firing range. We just have images of the farms in the surrounding area. Moving over a little bit towards the east side of the map, we have Asylum. And the first image we got of Asylum was actually, again, one of those teasers where we have zombies in there. And this is Asylum from World at War, which is also Verrucht, which is a zombies map based off of Asylum for World at War. And you can see in this teaser, the zombies do appear to spawn in this area. I don't think they spawn all over the map. They only spawn within certain areas, and this is one of them. And we get a much better wide-angle shot with a helicopter battle here. You can see there's a maze in front of it, and it looks like a pretty neat place to explore. So finally, this brings us to the last Blackout image I was able to find, and this is at the Hydro Dam. The only image we have of this so far is a guy wingsuit jumping off of the Hydro Dam, and they have confirmed now that you will have a wingsuit always equipped, and as long as you're jumping from a high enough area, like there's a certain height threshold you have to hit, but if you're jumping from a high enough area, you will open your wingsuit and you'll be able to glide a decent distance. With this, you can also see that there's likely going to be a ton of opportunity to find loot up there. So with that, that's all I've got so far on the Blackout map, although even by the time this video goes live, I'm sure we're going to get even more information. It seems like they're just going to be spreading that out throughout the week, I'm gonna try my best to stay on top of some of this, but at the same time with my schedule, I can't just be rushing videos out constantly, so sometimes I might be a little bit behind, but to make up for that, I am trying to be as thorough as possible with my videos. Of course, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of the Blackout map so far based on what we've seen from the map overview as well as all those images that we pieced together? Do you think it looks good, bad, too big, too small, or do you think we should just wait and find out for ourselves? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.